So we continue with our lesson, Pancha Khanda, 5 aggregates. So tonight we are at number 3, Sanya Khanda, perception group, Sanya. So in the book, it is very little written. It has only 3 points: reflecting upon perception as perception group, reflecting upon the origin of perception, reflecting upon the disappearance or the disintegration of perception. So it is just these 3 lines under the 5 aggregates. So I will explain more on the sanya, perception, and how we practice mindfulness on this cleaning of perception. So what is perception? What is sanya? So perceiving, or sometimes interpreted as memories. So perception is one of the aggregates listed here. It's the 3rd one of the aggregates, and of course it is the major one. These are the 5 major ones that are split out, and it is an important aggregate for us to develop our mindfulness. So what is this perceiving and memories? So it registered in our mind, this perceiving, that when we see something, we registered in our mind, like a memories. Or we hear, we smell, we taste, we touch. And even thinking itself, it registered into our mind. So the 17 thought moments and the last 2 moments are the registration. If our thoughts are strong, then it registered into our consciousness. And from there, it stays as a part of the mind, memories, part of the mind. And it keeps on arising. When we see somebody, then we recognize, oh, I have seen that somebody before. Or I have heard that song before. Or I have tasted this food before. So it arises as a memory. And it comes with all the tasting. For example, when you see a durian, then you have memories of different type of durian that you have tasted. Some are sweet, some are sour, some are very fragrant, and the smell as well. Now, so in your memories, it arises when you look at the durian. All these things arises in your mind. And you look and see, oh, this type of durian, is it really good inside? Is it as good as before that I've tasted? You see that how powerful is our memories. The fact is, it is even stronger than a computer. It has so much information registered in our mind, and it arises various ways and various forms through the 6 senses. When you look at an object, it comes with the memories of taste and smell and all together. It is very fantastic. Or even hearing. Even if you hear a sound, then it comes with all the memories. I've heard that sound before. It is so and so. Where did I hear it before? Now, all this information, this data in the mind, just pull up by the objects of that sound. And so our mind is full of memories all these years. And sometimes we can remember so far back when we are young. Especially if your concentration is strong, your one-pointedness of mind and is strong, and your sanya, perception, is strong, then you can go back so way back into your life. There are once, very long time ago, when I was meditating, and I could see these sanya, these memories in the form of pictures, that when I was very young, I could go back so way back, until I'm 7 years old. First, when I was playing kite, it was when I was 12 years old, I was standard 6, then it goes way back when I was 6 years old, and it goes way back until I was very young. And I could even remember what my father and mother was talking about. I was sleeping next door, and the partition is made of wood, an olden shop house. So I was sleeping next door, and I could remember so clearly what my father and mother was talking about. And those who have developed so strong concentration, they could even go back past life. There is no barrier actually between the present life and the past. It is just this sanya, continuation of memories that just flow through. Now this perception, every time in our life, we gathered all these experiences, the number of years, and it all registered in our mind. For example, like the people we meet with, mostly our close ones, our loved ones, and some close friends, sometimes enemies, people we don't like, unfriendly ones. And they constantly arises in our mind. But we have met with thousands of people, but they are indifferent ones, they are strangers. So it does not register much, but it registered those that we constantly come into contact, like our families. For example, our close ones, or let's say the first time you fall in love, you probably register 10,000 times a day in your mind. It just keep on arising, the object of that person. When the object is very strong, whether it is pleasant or it is unpleasant, it constantly arises in our mind. When the external object is not strong, when the internal object is strong, then it keeps coming up in our mind. If you lose someone dear, someone you love, then you find that these objects keep arising in your mind. They make you sad. It can control your mind, this sanya, these memories, this perception can just control your life, that makes you feel unhappy the whole day because you miss that someone. You miss that someone who is pleasant, who treats you well, who makes you happy. But the person no longer there. So that memories, when we cling to that someone, we cling to that happiness. So it keeps on coming up. The happiness associated with that someone that you love, then it keeps coming up. And the worst is when it associates with someone that you don't like, but it is strong. It makes you unhappy, and it also keeps coming up. That is a big problem. Your enemies, for example, your colleague, for example, your boss, for example, or even your brothers and sisters that you don't like, they keep appearing in your mind. Perception, memories, and that disturb our thinking, make us unhappy. Now, if you're not aware, then you don't even know why you're unhappy. Say, why today I'm so not happy, not in a good mood? Because you are controlled in your mind by memories. All these thoughts keep arising, that you keep thinking over and over again on that person, or there's something that you don't like. But what about those things that you like? Again, things that you like, they're no longer there. So again, you feel sad because they're no longer there. When you think about when you're young, when you're full of life, when you enjoy yourself, when you go to parties, when you have a lot of friends and singing and dancing, that makes you very happy. But what if you're aged? You can't do all that. When you're aged, you don't have so many friends. Some have passed away, and some have their own way, separate way. And now you're alone. Now when you sit alone thinking of all the things that has happened in the past, it makes you sad. Now what are these? These are sanya, memories. These are memories. When you think yourself, when you're young, you're full of life, full of health, a lot of energy, can go anywhere you like. But now you're old, you're sickly, you can't do much. Now when the perception of the present compare to the perceptions of the past, it brings to the mind a lot of sorrow, a lot of unhappiness. So this becomes an important part, aggregates, for us to develop the mindfulness, because it gives us a lot of trouble. Memories. Memories that are pleasant, memories that are unpleasant, give us a lot of trouble. And when you cling, when the mind clings, when we talk about cleaning, it is like the glue. When this perception arises in our mind, it's just like a glue. The mind just glue on the perception, memories, and it keeps on going and going. And the longer it goes, the more sad you become until you let go of it. Sometimes it is like a yuhu glue. It's so strong that grabs your mind that you can't think of anything else but only that objects that create so much trouble in your mind. Memories, perception. The Buddha says, watch that perception away. When you let go of it, then it will not cause you trouble. Then you know that it is just an aggregate. It is just 5 parts. 4 parts mind, 1 part's body. It's just that 5 parts. That's all. It's just 1 part of the 5. It is just memories. Now as you dissociate, detach from the memories, then it passes away. Then the Buddha says, watch it rise, watch it pass. It will pass away. It will fade away. Because memories are just memories. It is not real anymore. It is unreal. Things that have happened in the past, it is no longer there. It is unreal. But when you cling to it, then it comes with hallucination. It follows with hallucination. It follows with fantasy. It follows with delusion. That it is as if happening again and again and again. It becomes real. But it is no longer real. But it becomes real when you cling to it. Because you can't see the nature of perception. Once you absorb into that perception, it becomes real. It is like when you watch a movie. Yeah? Why do people start to cry and laugh? Because they're absorbed in the movies. They think themselves as one of those who suffer in the movies. Then they cry and cry and cry. They just absorb into the movies and experience the pain and the happiness of the movie stars which they are attached to. There is something real. It's something that is real, even though it is just a movie. It is just a play acting. It is not real, but it becomes real once the mind is absorbed into the movie, into the actor. The same way, when the mind is absorbed into memories, it sort of replay. It becomes a replay. It becomes that you have lived once more, as if it is the present life. So these memories cause the mind a lot of problem, a lot of sadness, a lot of disturbances. Once the mind clings to these memories, What if there is no memory, you say? What if I don't want memories? If memories cause so much problem, what if I don't want to remember? Is it possible? Yes, we try not to remember. Those things that happen and not so happy, we try not to remember. We try to forget about it. But a lot of times it is not successful because the object is so strong that it keeps appearing in the minds. And when clinging to the objects, the mind clings to the object, then memories comes again. So maybe it takes a long time for the memories to die away. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Especially people who lose their dear ones. Sometimes take them a long, long time to forget. But what about those who amnesia, who forget? They have an accident, concussion, and they wake up and they forget about everything, everybody. Don't you think that is happy? No, it is not happy because of the clinging to perception. Because he wants to remember. If he doesn't remember, then he feels a great part of his life is lost. So he keeps on trying to remember who he is, who is his close one, who is his dear one, what has he been doing in the past, did he own anything, is he rich or is he poor? Again, that clinging to memories, even though he forgets. But the clinging is suffering. The clinging to the memories, again, is suffering. Because he wants to remember. So clinging to the past, clinging to the present, when we start to compare with the past, that in the past he's nice to me, now in the present he's not so nice, then brings suffering to the mind because of comparison. Because when you cling to that happiness, and when you think in the past that he is not so attentive, or she is not so attentive, or not he is or she not so caring anymore, then brings a lot of pain. Perception. Again, clinging to the perception that in the past it is like that, but in the present it is not like that. So again, suffering. Now, a lot of things in the past, sometimes good, sometimes bad, that you don't like, but it has gone away, it is past. But when you cling to it, it brings back suffering. And you start to think, oh, we have done that to me in the past. When you look at that person, brings back great pain in the mind, because it brings back the memories of what happened in the past. And it will continue on for hours and hours, and sometimes for days, if you don't bring up that awareness, the mindfulness. So you must practice that mindfulness of perception. You must try to recognize it. Perception, perception. So when this perception causes a lot of trouble, causes a lot of suffering, then you must note perception, perception, aggregates, aggregates, aggregates. It is just one part of the 5. There's nothing to it. It is just a perception. It is emptiness. Supposing if I were to clench my fingers into a ball, and I say, what is inside? Then you say, oh, what is inside? You can't see what is inside. They say, don't know, because you can't see. Probably you may think, oh, perhaps there could be some dollars inside, or some coins, or ring, or so forth, because you can't see. It is clung together. Now, if I were to open up my thumb, and I open another one, and I open another one, and I open another one, and finally I open all, and what do you see? You say, oh, it is nothing. It is nothing there. Why do you say it is nothing there? Because it is all open up, separated and open up. And you see, it is nothing there. The same with the 5 aggregates. The same with the 5 aggregates. We recognize as something there. Some call it the higher self, the greater self, the soul, the me, the I, the bigger self. But when this aggregate is splitted out and shown in detail, perception is merely perception. There is nothing apart from perception. It just comes, it just goes. It is just like a computer that is gathering facts through our senses. Everything we experience, we go to a new restaurant, we start to eat, let's say a bowl of noodles, perception. Then we see, we smell, we taste, we register. And the next time you think of food, you say, hey, that's a nice noodle. I've tasted that one, it's nice. Perhaps I want to taste it again. How you know it is nice? Memories, perception. You perceive through your senses, nothing else. And you go there and you order the same thing. But this time when it comes, it tastes different. It is not just as good. Then you say, oh, why is it so different this time? Then you analyze. Maybe it's a change of cook. Maybe this cook is a new one. He doesn't know how to cook so well. It doesn't taste so well. Okay, another perception. Now you have a different perception now. So the third time you want to go there, you start to think. The first time was nice. The second time was lousy. If I go there again, don't know whether it's going to be nice or it's still going to be lousy. Now what is that perception? What is that memories? The memories is constantly changing. The memories is not self. It is not soul. It is just memories. Now once you develop mindfulness and see memories as memories, then it falls away. Then another memories arises, then change. Then they are free. Free from gluing, clinging to perception. And then that perception, which causes a lot of suffering, will slowly lose intensity and it will fade away. And when it arises, it does not catch hold of the mind. Why? Because you have let go. Because you have developed the mindfulness. You bring about the mindfulness to let go. So when it arises, it does not stick to the mind. It just falls away. Now if you have mindfulness, it is quite easy to let go. But if you have no mindfulness, then you can't let go. Then whenever it arises, stuck to the mind, it brings a lot of sorrow. There are many people who are stuck to memories and they live a life of suffering, a life of sadness. They do not know how to be happy. Why? Because they are trapped in memories. They are trapped in the past. The past that is no longer real. The past that has gone, but they are trapped in the past. What about future memories? Sanya. Now there are times when we think of the future, then it compare with the memories that you've seen people who are old, who are sickly, nobody to look after, then it brings a lot of fear. That again is perception, perceiving. That again is perceiving. Then you must take note. Perception. Then it falls away. Now if you don't do that, then it could cause mental problem. It could cause a lot of unfounded fear. Then you live with a lot of fear, unnecessary fear. people who are so fearful of growing old, and there are people who are so fearful of dying. They keep asking me the same question, Brother James, when a person is about to die, is it very painful? Very, very painful. I see on the television, very, very painful. I say that is television only lah. Some people die very peaceful, no pain. Of course, if they are sick, then you feel pain. But if you're not attached to the pain, then it's quite alright. Isn't it? So you should meditate more. See pain as pain. Then it arises, it disappears, arise, disappear, pain no more. But the perception stuck in the mind that when you die, it is so painful, they cause a lot of fear, unnecessary fear. And there are a lot of people with a lot of unnecessary fear, not necessarily of dying, but of growing old. And some friends of mine, they don't have children and they also have so much fear. I say, why? When I grow old, nobody take care of me. I say, are you sure? Are you sure nowadays children take care of parents? A lot of children are overseas. Like my sister, she got 3 children, all Australia. So, got 3, but not one near. So what happened? They're both very sickly, but at least got the husband beside. Even more sickly. So don't know who is taking care of who. So every day they remind each other, have you taken your medicine? Then the husband says, yes. What about you? Yes. Forget that. Because when they grow old, loses the memories. The memory becomes very poor. And they have to take many tablets a day. Not 3 times, or many times. Not morning, afternoon, and night. In between also got. So many medicine to take. So, perception. So these 5 aggregates, which I told last week, once you develop mindfulness, you direct your mind towards them, they become more and more clear. But of course, the first insight just started with nama-rupas, mind and object. When there is separation of mind and object, then the mind recognizes the object. Objects of seeing, smelling, tasting, and touching. But that is just the beginning of the insight, that the mind sees clearly that this is mind and this is body. They are 2 different things. They are not the same. Mind is mind, body and body. They are interdependent, but they are not the same. Mind depending on body, body depending on mind. They are interdependent, but they are not the same thing. And the mind starts to see the separation, like what we do now. We start to watch the element, air element, which is a part of the body, part of the 4 elements. But that is not enough. If you are able to see the separation of mind and body, that is just the beginning. Because you have to go deeper. And deeper is when you start recognizing the aggregates. When you're able to separate the aggregates, you're able to see mind as mind, feeling as feeling, perception as perception, body as body. Then it's just like opening the fingers. And what do you see? You see anatta. Egoless. Then you see very clearly, egoless. When you see egoless, then you are free from suffering. There's no more clinging. It is because of this clinging to this mind, feeling, body, perception, or memories that causes a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, because we can't let go. Because we see something there, but it is nothing there. It is anatta. When you start to see them separately, when the fingers are all opened up, then you can see them very clearly arising and disappearing. And when you are free from the clinging, then you are free from suffering. Then you become very peaceful. They arise, they disappear, you note them. Sometimes they arise, the mind cling to it, you note them. Then they let go. Then this is what the Buddha says. You see it come, you see it goes. That is what life is. Life just come and just go. But it's because we don't see it that way. We cling to it. And by clinging to it, not letting go, that we suffer. Life just come. Life just go. Just come. It just go. So if you don't cling to it, then you don't suffer. Then the mind becomes very peaceful. You are very happy because you're not burned by it. Because it does not create any suffering by it. Then when you are peaceful, you are calm, then you feel very happy. And this happiness is born out of calmness, is born out of insight, realization. Those who have attained realization, they are the happiest being in the whole world, in the whole universe. And if you read the sutras, those who have attained, they're so happy. And they cannot describe the happiness that they have experienced in their mind. Because it is beyond description. They are so happy. And they would exclaim, oh, he's so happy. Oh, he's so happy. He's so happy, so happy. And some of them think they're crazy. Then they go and approach the Buddha and say, Lord, this monk has gone crazy. He has been thinking of the house, his household life, that he has gone crazy. Betahan, cannot stand. He missed the worldly life so much, household life, that he has gone crazy. Then the Buddha asked the monk to bring him. And the Buddha asked him, have you gone crazy? Have you gone mad? Have you missed the household life? Then this monk say, oh, so happy. Oh, so happy. And the Buddha looked at him. And the Buddha said, oh, monks, he is not crazy. He is not mad. He is not missing the household life. He experienced the joy of enlightenment, wisdom, the happiness of wisdom. Of course, it is only the scripture that we read. A lot of that appearing in the scripture that we read. But if you practice, if you're mindful, you could experience a little bit of here and there, the bliss, the happiness, when you are free from the suffering, the burden of the mind, when you're able to let go, those things that bring so much pain, and you just say, okay, let it go. And when you're free from it, then you find the relief, the bliss. The bliss that you no longer hanker, hold on to the bad experience, to those things in the past that makes you sad. So, today's subject is on the perception. And to go briefly into the text, what is the characteristics of perception? Characteristics of perception is perceiving the qualities of the object. What is the function? As marking an object for perceiving again in the future. And what is the manifestation? As recognizing what has previously perceived and interpreted. And what is the cause of perception? The appearing of objects of the six senses. Whenever the objects appearing, arises perception. Then the perception arises because of contact senses with the object. Then it registered in the mind as an experience. So perception arises all the time in our mind. Whenever we see, smell, taste, touch, perception follows. Now if you have a lot of bad memories, a lot of bad perception, when it arises, then it causes a lot of dissatisfaction. Even when you don't see that person, but you're angry at that person, and when you think of that person, you feel angry and sad. Perception as mind object, not as seeing object, but as mind object arises in your mind. So the mind is much more difficult to handle, mind object, than the external object. External object, you can say, okay, I don't want to see him, then no problem. But it is not so. You don't want to see him, there's no eye contact, but there is mind contact. Still, there is mind contact. So you can't run away. So what do? You need to practice meditation. You need to bring out that mindfulness. You need to see the mind clearly. You need to see perception as perception. Now what do? You just name it. Perceiving, until it disappears. If it is strong, then you got to keep on naming it. Because it die off, it arises again. Then you perceiving. You name it again. Now every time you name it, the mind detach. Once it detach, the object dies away. And when it keeps on dying away, it becomes less and less. It becomes weak. Objects, mental objects become weakened, and then it disappears. Then you know it's arising. Then you know it disappearing. Then you know that sanya disappear. Memories disappear or die off. Now in that way, you could see the non-substance, anatta, of memories. And when this insight develop, this wisdom develop, when you keep on seeing this perception arising and disappearing, then it would not cause hallucination. It would not grasp the mind. Otherwise, it grabs the mind. Then you relieve that perception again. In other words, you start living again the whole mess of suffering that you encountered long time ago. So that becomes a hallucination. Something not there, but you think it is there. So you live in suffering, right? It is an important subject. If you don't understand, please ask. Because you're supposed to practice them. You must learn to recognize them. If you don't recognize them, then you get absorbed, clinging to it. Once you're clinging to it, it causes a lot of suffering, a lot of pain. Brings back a lot of memories that are so painful. Right? What are perception? What are perceiving? Perceiving that is present. Perceiving that is the past memories. So right now you look at me, that is perceiving, but that is the present. Okay? But even when you look at me, there is this perception, memories, that this is Brother James, that he's teaching meditation. He is like that. He is tall. He is thin. So if you see another person sitting there that doesn't look like me, then you know this is not Brother James. What is all this? These are all perception. Pleasant perception. Even if a stranger will come, first time, and he sit there, and he say, I am Brother James. They say, no, how could that be Brother James? I've seen him before so many times. So it cannot be Brother James. Unless you are new, first time. They say, oh, this is Brother James. Then you perceive at this present moment that this guy, this man sitting here is Brother James. So that is the present. Then registered into the mind, it becomes memory. So the next session, next week when you come, then you can recognize whether it is the same person or it is a different person. So it registered. So our life is a lot of memories. If you live to 50, so imagine 50 years of memories. So you can see how wonderful is the mind. Mind is something much greater than a computer. It's so complex, so fantastic.